Hello, St. Martin, and welcome to the Integrity Chamber's new video series, Civic Participation in the Democratic System. In this video, we will be discussing how we can make a difference through engagement. With me today is Mr. Tadzio Bervoets. Mr. Bervoets, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Why should citizens play an active role in society, in their community?
Well, one of the most important rights that we have living in a democracy is participation as civil society in terms of communities, in terms of organizations, but also in terms of individuals. So, for me, civil society participation, especially during my career, dealing, in the NGO space, dealing in the marine conservation or natural conservation space, it was always the most important part of my job to include as much of civil society as possible. So the reasons why the inclusion of civil society is critical in a democratic society, for me, can be broken down into three main topics. So strengthening the democracy that we live in, community development, and personal development. In terms of strengthening democracies, one of our main rights living in a democracy is our ability to vote. And I think we should not underestimate how important it is for us to exercise that right. Secondly, and closely related to our right to vote, is also holding our decision makers responsible, which I think is critically important, but also participating in sort of the democratic process. So I think the inclusion of civil society, private individuals, CSOs, so community-based civil organizations, et cetera, in developing laws, in drafting policies, et cetera, it's very important. And I really do think that, being as inclusive and taking into account different views and different ideas is critically important to our development as a nation. Secondly, community development. It is critically important for our community to also be involved in the decision-making processes and also to sort of involve our communities in guiding our policies in terms of the directions that we want to go to as a country. And then for me, also very important on a personal level is this sort of personal development. Coming from the NGO management space, but also working in the region, after working so long on St. Martin, I've come to realize that it's also personally gratifying to be as involved in civil society organizations or being as involved in the community as possible. So if you were to ask me what are the main importance of civil society participation, I would say it's related to sort of community development, being a pillar of democracy, being participatory in our decision-making processes, in our democratic processes, but also on a personal level, it's very enriching and very fulfilling as individuals to be a part of our community, our society. So those would be my recommendations.
What are some of the ways that citizens can make a positive impact on St. Martin?
St. Martin is very lucky that we have a very strong volunteer network. We have initiatives such as SXM Doot, et cetera, so I think volunteering and volunteerism is definitely provides a platform for really contributing to civil society as an individual. And again, St. Martin is very lucky that we have ample opportunity for us to be able to do so. I think participation in local governance is also quite important. Some communities have very strong community councils. I think participation in community councils and encouraging community councils to really play a role in the decision-making processes and developing community-based policies for further community development, et cetera, I think is also really provides really an opportunity for individuals who are part of the community to really be engaged and to contribute to the development of their community specifically. Some people might not consider it a way to participate, but supporting local businesses for me is very important. I try as much to support local businesses whenever I can. And then finally, education and mentorship. Throughout my career, I've had the honor to be able to mentor quite a few young people in sort of the conservation, marine biology, diving, maritime space. And that has been one of the most fulfilling parts of my career, to really pass on my knowledge in terms of educating, especially younger people, and acting as a mentor for some people who are now pursuing, their education in the conservation space. I mean, I'm not specifically only talking about conservation, of course, but generally speaking.
Right.
And these young people now have the commitment that they're coming back to St. Martin to strengthen out their society. So I think that's critically important. Often you hear the often used cliche that the youth are the future, which I think is absolutely right, but the youth are also the present. And I think that it's critically important that young people be included in the decision-making processes. And the only way that they're able to do that very effectively is if they have, proper education, proper awareness, proper mentorship, and so on and so forth.
I think you've given us a lot of different aspects that we can look at when it comes to being an active participant in our community, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And so if you were to, encourage citizens to be an active part of their society, of our community, how exactly would you do so? What would you tell the people?
Volunteering personal time and committing your time personally is one of the most effective ways of really having, full scale or involved and widespread community participation. I think, once you commit to attending an event where whatever have you paint a school, or you go out and feed animals, or you volunteer in spay and neuter programs, or you do a beach cleanup, or whatever have you, it really not only contributes to society, contributes to community, but as I mentioned before in some of my previous comments, it really enriches you personally. I think, there's no better judge of character than saying, okay, I'm going to put aside my Saturday morning, despite me being tired or despite me having errands to run, but I'm going to set aside, a couple of hours on a Saturday morning to, for example, count sea turtle nests on Simpson Bay Beach, or pick up trash on Mullet Bay Beach, just to contribute, to the betterment of the island that we love, and the society in which we live, and the community that or the island that we call home.
We thank you, Mr. Bervoets, for your time, and we also thank you for your valuable contributions to this, not only to this topic, but also to our island. And I think that you have given us and the people of St. Martin a lot to think about as it pertains to how we can make a difference through engagement on our beautiful island.
It's my pleasure.
And to you, our viewers, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for the following video in our series, Civic Participation and the Democratic System.